The mean is typically referred to as the average, but what does that mean? Average means that if we would take all of these values, we see some are high, some are low, we have a couple 15s, we have a 6 down here, and then we have a few data values that are clustered kind of close together, 11, 12, and 13. If we were to take all of those and level them out so that each number was the same, what would that one number be that represents all of this data? Well, the way to do that mathematically is to take all of these values and find their sum. And you can see here that I've ordered them in order from least to greatest, which isn't necessary when you're finding the mean. However, it is helpful when you're finding median, mode, and range, which we are also going to do. So if you take all the values and you add them up, so here's the total of all the values, 72. And if I were to make 6 even numbers, because there are 6 data values, what value would that be if I divided that 72 into 6 equal parts? So the mean of our data set is 12, or 72 divided by 6. Mode is the value that occurs the most in a data set. So here you see we have our data again. The numbers are all jumbled up, so I do find that it's helpful if you order your numbers from least to greatest, and that way it's very easy for you to see that if there is a number that occurs more frequently than any other number. Here we see that this data set has 2 15s, but only one of every other data value. So the mode in this case is 15. Now 15 happens to be the greatest value in this data set, but let's not confuse greatest with occurring the most. I could have 2 6s down here or 2 12s, and I would have a mode of 6 or a mode of 12. And that brings up an interesting point. If this 15 right here were gone, then this data set would have no mode. There is no number that occurs any more than any other number. And if I added a value, let's say I added a 12 to the data set, then my data set would have 2 modes, 12 and 15. So you can have no mode, 1 mode, or 2 or even 3 modes. So mode is the value that occurs the most. Okay, now on to finding the median. The median is the value that represents the middle of the data set. So as you can see here, if I'm looking at this data set, it looks like the middle of my data set is right around here. Well, I could reorder these numbers and get a different median every time. So how are we going to find the median of a data set so that every time we find the exact same median? Well, again, we're going to order our values from least to greatest, and that will help us find out what the middle of the data set is. So how do we find the middle? Well, one way to do it is to just count in from each end. So for example, 6 on this end, 15 on this end, 11 down here, 15 up here. Okay, I can see that there's not just one middle value, there's actually 2 middle values. So then what do we do? Well, you're simply going to find the mean of those 2 values. So again, add them up, sum of 25, and then because there are 2 data values, you're going to divide by 2. So our median is 12 and 5/10. Now let's find the range. Whereas mean and median are more measures of center, the range is a measure of variability. It tells us by how much or what amount the data set varies. So to find the range, it's pretty simple. You can see the data values are lined up in order from least to greatest, as they were when we were finding the median and the mode. And then all we simply have to do is take the highest value, the greatest value, minus the least value. So 15 minus 6 is 9. So this data set has a range of 9.